Welcome to Dawn of the New Earth. Today we are talking about all the drama and fallout from the Billy Carson debate with Wes Huff. So for those who don't know, I reacted to a video where Billy Carson was in a debate with a Christian theologian, and there has been so much drama from that. Billy Carson released this extremely long, ranty video in a response to it and then deleted it. Now Wes Huff is claiming that Billy Carson is suing him, and Billy released an apology as well. So we're going to be taking a look at all this today, all this drama, all this insanity, so that hopefully we don't have to hear about it anymore. Hopefully we can be over and done with this. But we're going to jump right into it. And so I just right off the bat, I want to remind you of my position in all this. I'm an ex-Christian, and I reveal hidden knowledge on my channel for the purpose of raising consciousness. So there's a lot of crossover between Christianity and Billy Carson here. But one very important distinction that I want to make is I do not take a historical perspective on these things. Billy and Wes do. I take a philosophical and psychological approach. So while Billy and Wes are debating about whether certain ancient stories actually happened, I don't care whether they happened or not. I look at these stories as symbols for archetypal patterns that exist within our mind that allow us to learn and grow through understanding what they represent, not whether they actually happened or not. So anyway, I just want to make that clear. I take a very different perspective than these individuals, but nonetheless, let us see the drama. So first things first is we are going to take a look at this video that Billy Carson released and then deleted, a very long and ranty video. And guess what? This very long and ranty video is 3 hours. And you might be wondering, oh, well, I thought it was deleted. How did you see it? Well, someone uploaded it. It's up there. It's on the internet. It's still 3 hours. So I'm not going to watch a 3-hour video of Billy ranting. I'm not going to do that. You can do that if you want. So we're going to look at highlights of this. But just keep in mind, these are there's a lot more, but I'm not about to watch all that. But there's a lot more to it, and you can watch it if you want. That's what we're going to check out first. Then we'll see Wes claims that Billy is suing him, and then take a look at the apology that he released as well. So we're going to take a look at all of it. I briefly scrubbed through some of this, but for a lot of it, I'll be seeing for the first time with you guys. So let's just bring this up. Make sure you guys can see everything here. Here we go. Okay, so let's just get started. This is just a quick highlight reel.
Because a lot of these people are just ignorant, poor people. You know, they're just poor people. I'm not a Joe Schmo 9-to-5 worker bee. And these people are just poor dummies. You know, what can you do? I make more money than rappers. I might have bumbled the Barnabas text for the Sinai text or whatever. It doesn't really matter. What matters is I never got a chance to answer any questions or get my voice heard.
So this guy. So this is part of the response video that Billy released and then took down. And yeah, so from what I can gather and what I've read and what I've looked at, he starts degrading poor people. And then later on, he starts bragging about like all the money he has and all his billionaire friends and everything. That's not a good look. That's really not a good look. By trying to say that someone's wealth determines their worth, the amount of money they make determines someone's worth, is a very problematic stance to take. But anyway, so I just wanted to show that real quick. But what we're going to do here is take a look at, because like I said, I don't want to go through the entire thing. So we're going to look at this. So this individual's channel, let me see their name. It's what do you meme? Like a meme. What do you meme? So they kind of compiled some of the important points. So we're going to take a look at this and see what's going on with the response video that Billy made and then took down. So let's start here.
So Billy Carson recently hosted a 3.5-hour live stream to address his...
Yeah, so 3.5 hours. Holy shit. Can you imagine? We're not doing that. But anyway.
...poor debate performance against Wes Huff. But instead of him redeeming himself, it became one of the most painful, self-inflicted disasters that I've ever seen. His own fans turned on him in the comments as he spiraled, made excuses, unveiled plans to silence Christian creators, and revealed how he really feels about Christianity.
What is the sadistic narcissist? Let's take a look at some of the traits and see if we can compare them to this quote-unquote God of the Bible.
So real quick, that particular point, I agree with. I agree with some of the points that Billy makes with regard to, his criticism of Christianity and God, the God of Christianity, at least. I agree with some of that. The problem is that he bases his ideas on very problematic sources, where you don't need to do all that. You can just base it on logic and reason. You don't need to base it on documents that you are claiming are historically accurate. That's the issue there. So I'm not an expert on Billy Carson by any means, but the two major problems that I see with Billy is that he has some good ideas with regard to his opinions on the Bible and Christianity, from what I've seen. However, the two big issues are that he tries to push certain data as factual and historical when it clearly is not at all. Like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth are clearly fake. They're not 36,000 years old. They're barely maybe like 100 years old. They were written in the early 1900s by a guy named Claude Doggins, who changed his name to Maurice Doriel and was kind of basically like a con man. So anyway, that's a problem. And then the other problem with Billy is that, from what I've heard, he like criticizing poor people and like and bragging about all the money he has and billionaire friends. That's very problematic as well. But anyway, let's continue.
As well as poor people who work a 9 to 5.
I let a lot of it slip because a lot of these people are just ignorant poor people. They're just poor people. I'm not a Joe Schmo 9 to 5 worker bee.
So honest.
Yeah, so that's extremely problematic behavior, to be saying like, oh, I don't, these people are just poor and stupid, is essentially what he's saying. They're poor and stupid. So the amount of wealth that you have does not determine your worth or your intelligence. You can be a genius, but live in poverty. Now, sometimes intelligence and wealth can be correlated to a certain degree. If you are, let's say, if you are like specifically going, oh, I'm going to use my intelligence for the purpose of making money. Yeah, if you are a smart person and you just your entire life you dedicate to making money and you're a smart person, you're probably going to be able to make money. But there are plenty of intelligent people who, and that's the ironic thing, is that those who become truly intelligent, and intelligent in a way where you're wise, like you just haven't collected a lot of facts, but you're a wise person. You realize that money isn't an end unto itself. It's a means to an end. So you automatically don't make your life all about acquiring wealth unless you have certain goals that you want to achieve that requires a certain amount of monetary capital to be able to affect that goal that you want, to achieve that goal. But basically what I'm saying is this idea of like, oh, poor people equals stupid is very problematic. And there could be someone who, like I said, is a total genius, but and often the case is that people who are extremely intelligent get shunned quite often. Like if you're a scientist and you go against the scientific mainstream, well, you're probably not going to get the funding that you need. You're probably going to be ostracized from the scientific community. So making a very general degrading judgment on people's monetary situation, especially when we live in a world that's this capitalist nightmare that makes people work a mind-numbing 9 to 5 just so that they can barely survive. Like our whole monetary system is totally screwed up because money is considered an end unto itself, not a means to an end. Just like how do we measure the success of a country? GDP, essentially how much money is made. And that's really, is that how you measure the success of something, by how much money it generates? That is the lowest form of value assessment. Anyway, I don't like. Long story short, I don't like that. And it's ironic because after watching the debate, I didn't agree with either of them. I didn't agree with Wes and I didn't agree with Billy. But I thought Billy made some good points, not about his like alien theory or anything like that, but about his criticism of Christianity and the Bible. I thought he made some good points. But after seeing his response to all this, it's not good.
Honestly, this one was an absolute mess, but you don't have to sit through all 3.5 hours. I've broken down the most important moments, covering the fallout, the debate response, and the meltdown. So let's dive in.
Shout out to this channel, by the way. Make sure you go follow them if you like what they have to say. It's called What Do You Meme again?
Because this is going to be an eye-opening reveal about the real Billy Carson. So Billy's livestream was supposed to expose the fake debate that he recently took part in, but quickly spiraled into disaster. He started by announcing lawsuits against everyone involved, the host, the opponent, and even the editor. But it wasn't long.
So he's threatening a on Wes, the host, and basically everyone. It's not a good look. It doesn't look very good.
Long before his fans started turning on him in droves. They were furious that he wouldn't admit to an obvious loss. I had to unsubscribe. It's one thing to be a sore loser, but to not admit defeat means you cannot learn or grow due to no lesson being received. Billy brother, I really want to see you win, but you're fighting against your own message right now. I hope you can recover from this, but you have to look in the mirror because this behavior is unacceptable. Really? Billy, you should be 100% honest when you discuss what happened. You are not building credibility, and I am a fan of yours. I used to like this guy, but literally 5 minutes into this video, I was done with him. But for some fans...
And real quick, I see some people in the comments right now saying like, oh, you know, these are just little clips of the whole video. I agree. That's why last time we watched the whole debate, right? Last time we watched these are just little clips. Things can be taken out of context. But the whole thing is 3.5 hours. I tried to start watching it. It's so much ranting. And I think that this does a decent job because I'm telling you guys, look, all right, never mind. I don't, let's just watch. I see a lot of people trying to defend Billy and trying to defend Wes. And it's like, all of this stuff is a distraction. It's all about, that's why I'm like, let's get over. I don't want to talk about this. Let's get over. Yeah, so it's about raising consciousness. It's about reaching higher levels of consciousness. The reason why I even talk about this kind of stuff is because guess what? Like people come to my channel and watch it. And then I can hopefully open people's minds up to the fact that there's a different way of looking at these things. Not like, ooh, did aliens visit us, you know, thousands of years ago? Or, oh, was Jesus really crucified or not? But instead realizing that these are archetypal patterns that reflect symbolically our own journey and transformation. The crucifixion, for example, can be understood as destroying your old self to create your new self and reaching gnosis and knowledge and understanding, just as one example.
The frustration went even deeper. Several other commenters pointed out something even more troubling about Billy's response. You should take this video down. Most of your fans are poor people. The poor people are the ones who made you powerful. So what did Billy say on his live stream that drove his fans to say this? Well, it started with Billy unnecessarily and continuously humble bragging about how much money that he has in a way that felt tone deaf and out of touch with his audience.
We have 5 AC units, and I don't even know which one of them is acting up. I normally take the elevator upstairs. You know, I've had a chef for 10 years, and they like the food from coming over and eating the food at our house, and now they share our chef. You know, we are hopping off of a private jet. We relaxed in a huge 8,500 square foot mansion with our best friends on a tiny private island.
See, this has no bearing on anything. That's why I said I'm not watching the whole three hours, because I tried, and it's just very disjointed and disconnected and doesn't really have anything to do with that. Who cares how many ACs you have? Who cares that you have a fancy private chef? Who cares that you have a jet or a private jet or whatever he said? So?
Actually sleeping in my movie theater in my house. I have a movie theater. I'm sleeping in the movie theater.
He's got a movie theater in his house. I mean, cool. There's nothing wrong with success. Success is fine. But what is the relevance here?
What really set fans off was his blatant mockery about those who he deemed poor, especially 9-to-5 workers.
This is what they try to do when you get famous. You see? I let a lot of it slip because a lot of these people are just ignorant, poor people. You know, they're just poor people. They're just ignorant. So I let a lot of it, you know, whatever, man. These people are just poor dummies. You know, what can you do? I make more money than rappers.
It just doesn't... Equating wealth with the value of an individual is extremely problematic. Very, very problematic. That's a huge red flag for me. Now, again, I want to make it very clear. I'm not saying like, oh, we should all go sell everything and live in huts in the wilderness or something. If you want to do that, that's fine. there's nothing wrong with having nice things. There's nothing wrong with, making money and being successful and having a nice life. That's fine. But if you're just going around, especially after you lost a debate, just talking about your movie theater and all the ACs that you have, and it's a very not a good taste to be like, oh well, look how much money I make and how little money you make, so I'm clearly better than you. That's not good.
I'm not a Joe Schmo 9-to-5 worker bee. You thought I was just some dumb black guy that just happened to get a little lucky with a couple of clips online and gain some popularity. Like Kendrick Lamar say, they not like us.
Now, the thing is that Billy clearly knows how to make money. Like, he clearly knows how to make money. It's not like he just got lucky. He's absolutely right in that fact. He didn't just get lucky. He didn't just post a couple videos. Oh, got viral and he got super lucky. I mean, I don't know much about him, but based on what I've seen of him, he knows how to create something that people will want to engage with. He's very smart when it comes to that. But equating that with the value or worth of a person is not, because this is all about supposed to be about higher consciousness, right? I mean, I don't know. I would think. So it doesn't make sense to bring that in this context. It's kind of like if you were in, let's say you were a crypto trader or something. I don't know. If you were a crypto trader, then yeah, it would make sense to be like, oh, look, I'm better because I make more money. Because the whole thing is about how much money you can make. When it comes to what should be about actualizing your higher self and helping others to do the same, to bring in this idea of, oh, I make more money, so I'm better, is very antithetical to the entire pursuit.
They not like us.
Now, first off, you can't quote Kendrick while you're acting like Drake. And secondly, now this earlier comment suddenly makes more sense. But if obliviously mocking his fans wasn't bad enough, Billy took things to another level when he admitted this.
The money that you thought you were making and the popularity you thought you were making is all going to be spent on attorney's fees. And I don't care if I win or lose. I just want you to spend money.
Horrible. That's horrible. So he's already talking about how he's going to sue all these people. And he's just basically like flexing, like, oh, I don't even care if I've got so much money. I can hire all these lawyers. Doesn't matter. I just want you to spend money. Doesn't matter if I win or lose. I just want you to spend money. Yeah, this is clearly very problematic.
Now, if you aren't aware, what he just admitted to was filing what's called slap lawsuits, which are designed to silence critics and burden the defendant with legal costs until they abandon their criticism. And he even went so far as to say that he's going to sue the host of the podcast for
$1 million and possibly even more.
Now, not only does admitting this ruin the little bit of chances that he had at winning the lawsuit, but it also opens him up to counter lawsuits. And
yeah, so we're going to talk about this. So we're going to take a look at Wes's response to Billy's legal documents.
Unsurprisingly, fans and critics alike saw this as a massive overreaction to a debate being published. But as we'll see next, Billy's excuses and evidence for his debate performance didn't just fail to clear his name, they made things far worse, with some even calling him a fraud. And speaking of fraud, before we get into that, did you know that American homeowners nationwide have over $32 trillion in equity? And cyber
No.
title of your the demonstration on how to lock down. So we left off with some people considering Billy to be a fraud. This all stemmed from his poor performance in a recent debate, which anyone that was familiar with Wes and Billy's work knew exactly how it was going to go.
Billy Carson.
So this is where I want to say again, I'm not super familiar with Billy Carson's work. I've seen little bits and pieces about the information that he conveys. So this idea of whether Billy Carson is a fraud or not really relies on if he actually believes the things that he's saying, because he absolutely 100% says things that are not true. He talks about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth as if they were 36,000-year-old texts. And I even think sometimes he's like, oh, the Bible copied the Emerald Tablets. The Emerald Tablets are less than 100 years old. Now, don't confuse that with the Emerald Tablets of Hermes. Emerald Tablet of Hermes is something completely different. I see that confusion a lot, something completely different. That's a legit ancient document. It wasn't written by Hermes, but it's 12 to 1300 years old. But that's not what Billy talks about. So he does say things that are very problematic.
Oh, that dude sat down with Wes Huff. Bro, it was a slaughter.
Yeah, and given the fact that they were right, Billy tried to excuse his performance with some, let's just call them questionable arguments. The first explanation he gave was that he was incredibly sick, claiming that he nearly died of pneumonia days before the debate. And he showed proof of this by showing this Band-Aid on his arm.
Now, I will say, to be fair, he did look very sick. I mean, he looked real out of it. I'm not familiar with Billy. Well, just from watching this, he wasn't acting like this. He seemed pretty out of it. But I mean, that's kind of on you, you know, if you're gonna go into something not feeling good, you know, that sucks, but you know what you're getting into. And if he released a video which is like, hey, you know what, guys, I wasn't feeling good. I know that debate sucked. Let's do another one. Let's do another one when I'm feeling better or something. Like, that would be totally fine. So I think it's legit to say, oh, I wasn't feeling good, but the way you handle that is what matters. And he did not handle it very well. When it just looks like you're, you know, oh, I was sick and I make more money than you and you're just poor and I have so many air conditioners. It's, yeah. And remember, this is all my opinion, based on like a lot of little clips here and there, these videos that I've seen. So, you know, take it all with a grain of salt, do your own research if you want. I'm not, yeah, anyway.
In that weakened state, which he knew he caught me in one of my most weakest states. He saw how I only weighed 206 pounds. And again, I was so sick and ill, to be quite honest with you. Maybe I did bumble my words a couple times with the sign.
Did he say he only weighed 206 pounds? What did he say?
He caught me in one of my most weakest states. He saw how I only weighed 206 pounds.
I only weighed 206 pounds? Am I crazy, or is that's a lot of pounds? That's a high number, no? I weigh 153. That's kind of a lot, isn't it? I mean, unless he's like 7 feet tall or something. Did he mean to say 106? He couldn't have meant to say 100. He would look like skin and bones if he was 106. Anyway, well, he's 6'4" and usually weighs 260? Someone in the chat said that. He's 6'4". Anyway, I mean, he looks fit. 206 does not seem like a low number to me, but I don't know anything about his, whatever, doesn't matter.
And again, I was so sick and ill, to be quite honest with you. Maybe I did bumble my words a couple times with the Sinai Bible or the Barnabas text. It's quite powerful. I thought we were having a casual conversation on spirituality, and I wasn't really even fully in my right mind. I just almost died a few days before going to his house, literally. And so he took advantage of that.
Now, to be clear, I don't have any.
So T-Chem says, hey, Morgue, Billy said ridiculous, embarrassing, egocentric things, but these clips conveniently left out some critical parts of the story. This creator is clearly biased. Can you give some examples of critical things left out? Because I would be interested to know. From what I understand, the things that Billy is trying to say is that he wasn't feeling good. He had pneumonia. He didn't know that it was going to be a debate. And as far as I know, those are only the real legit, like something that could be legit that he said regarding it. But again, that doesn't justify at all this response. Like I said, if he was just like, oh, hey guys, I wasn't feeling good. I didn't know that it was going to be like this. Let's do another video. I'm sure Wes would totally be down for that. The way that it was handled is very problematic. Yeah, Mark. Hey, Mark, how are you? Mark says, regardless of how much anyone likes Billy, the flexing has no bearing on the merit of the arguments. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Strong reason to doubt that he was sick and was actually in the hospital days before the debate. And by the way, I'm glad that he didn't die and he's better now. But if this illness really did cause him to get things wrong, then what's his excuse for saying the exact same things on podcasts before the debate?
Never got crucified. As a matter of fact, the Sinai Bible, Jesus was crucified. Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. But then you go to the Sinai Bible, in the Sinai Bible, and the Sinai Bible.
See, that's the problem, right? If you're talking about a certain text, and I think he means the Gospel of Barnabas, right? Not the Sinai Bible. Yeah, it's the Gospel of Barnabas. I think that's the whole point here. It's the Gospel of Barnabas. These are clearly not historically accurate documents. But he acts as though that they are, and that's the problem. So like I said before, when I read from the Gospel of Judas or the Gospel of Mary, I know they weren't written by the Gospel of Judas. I know they weren't written by Judas. I know they weren't written by Mary. I say that. But it's about understanding the power that these archetypal symbols have. Like Lilith. Lilith is an amazing archetypal figure, one of my favorites. She's not in the Bible. She's in a medieval text called the Alphabet of Ben Sirah and is a legend. But I'm not trying to say that like Lilith really existed. No, Lilith is a symbol for rebellion, knowledge, and the divine feminine, especially when facing oppression and to oppose that oppression. That's what that represents. The problem is that people take these representations, these symbols and images as though that they were real things. They're not. They are representations of forces that exist in the psyche.
According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
And how was he able, on the night of the debate, to go to the host's house at 2:30 in the morning while the host's wife and kids were sleeping? And immediately after the host didn't answer, he had enough energy to do this.
I come back to the house. I'm extremely angry and I'm extremely frustrated that I wasn't able to contact him. His phone was in do not disturb mode. So I tried to call first. I tried to call him like 4 or 5 times, evidenced in my phone records. I texted him 5 or 6 times. I also texted him a copy of my do not consent, and I WhatsApped him a copy of my do not consent form at the same time.
But even worse, he says that he's now...
I'm not the same almost half-dead person that you tried to talk to a few weeks ago. I've gotten my clear mind back. My brain fog is gone. My body weight's coming back. I'm lifting and working out every single day. I'm getting stronger by the second. I'm not that weak, sick person that just almost died. That was in the hospital, coming on a show on a video feed with a IV bandage on, literally fresh off the IV.
If all that's true, that's fine, and it could very well be true. It's just the response is bad. Then be like, okay, let's have another. Now that I'm feeling better, let's have another debate. That would be. And there's many other types of responses. That's not the only one. There's many appropriate responses that could have been made. Not, oh, I'm feeling better and I'm healthy now. And look how much money I have. You're all poor. I'm going to sue everybody. It's an unfortunate thing because Billy clearly has a big reach and a big influence. And I agree with some of what he says about criticizing the Bible and criticizing Christianity. He's on point with that stuff. It's just this behavior is not good. And what he bases his arguments and information on, from what I have seen, are factually inaccurate. I haven't seen everything that he talks about, but as far as like Barnabas and the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, they're factually inaccurate. If you aren't claiming that they're factually inaccurate, if you're just like, oh, hey, this is an interesting story we can learn from, that's totally different. But that's not what he's saying.
The big tree with all the different IV bags and all the antibiotics and everything else dripping into my body, fresh off the bag. I'm in the studio, out of boredom, really, but brain fog, tired, exhausted. Can't breathe. I only got about 2 more weeks of recovery left from this pneumonia, and I'll be full strength.
Now, if that's true, then...
And again, if that is true, I could totally say, look, if I was just... Because I'm sure Billy probably has tons of podcasts to do. Tons of interviews, tons of podcasts. I don't know much about him, but I would assume. And if he's feeling super sick, and he's not doing good, and he's out of it, and they're like, oh, hey, you have a podcast at 3 p.m. tomorrow. He's just like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. And he does it, and he goes on, and he's not expecting a debate, and he's not feeling, and it goes bad. If that is true, I don't know if that's true or not. But if it is, yeah, I mean, that sucks. That's too bad. That's unfortunate. But it would be one of those things where, like I said, you'd go, look, I wasn't feeling good. I didn't realize it was going to be like that. I'm feeling better now. Let's get into it.
Why not debate again? Wes even offered to take the video down if Billy agreed to another debate.
Billy, I will agree to all the terms and conditions of the cease and desist letter if you agree to run it back, sit down with me in person, and have another discussion.
But
now, so he is like I said, Wes seems to be totally open with another debate or another discussion. Now, to be clear, I'm not Team Wes. Yeah, as I did it. If you want to see the whole I did a whole reaction to the entire debate. I did 2-hour debate. I did reaction to the whole thing. I'm not on Team Wes. I'm not on Team Carson either. Wes, to me, sounded very condescending, and I thought his attitude was not good. I don't like criticizing people, so I'm trying to criticize them without sounding like an asshole. I don't usually do like reaction video type things, but look, I'm an ex-Christian. I don't think that the Christian arguments are very good because they're trying to treat these things as historical events. And this conspiracy angle, I think, is riddled with factual errors.
it seems that Billy doesn't want to take that chance. Billy's second excuse for his poor performance was that he was ambushed. The only problem is he admitted to willingly doing the debate.
And then Mark gets this guy on the live feed, and he says, "Hey, we're gonna have a little debate." I'm like, "A debate?" He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna talk about this your perspective of religion." And
so Beauty with Tippy says, you should have seen Wes and his buddies on YouTube bullying him and fear mongering. I don't doubt that could be true. Like I said, I think that very often religious behavior, I thought Wes was very condescending. So I don't know if that's true, but it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying that I like how Wes handled things.
Stuff and so on, whatever. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, okay, whatever.
So not only did Billy once again mess up his lawsuit by admitting.
So from that, it sounds like Billy knew it was going to be a debate, right? Let me just play that again. Billy is saying that he knew it was going to be a debate.
The only problem is he admitted to willingly doing the debate.
And then Mark gets this guy on the live feed, and he says, "Hey, we're gonna have a little debate." I'm like, "A debate?" He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna talk about this your perspective of religion and stuff and so on, whatever." And I'm like, huh? I'm like, okay, whatever.
So
to be fair, from what these are just little clips. To be fair, I don't think Billy is saying, I knew way ahead of time it was going to be a debate. I think he's saying like right before they went live, the host was like, "Hey, this is the debate." And he's like, "What? Oh, okay, whatever." I don't know if any of that's true. I could see that being true. Like I said, I could see Billy being super sick, not really knowing it's a debate. I could see all that being true. It's how he handled it. That's the issue. Prometheus says, "Morgue, I've been internally hoping for a debate between you and Billy, but now it looks like that has evaporated along with Billy's weight." Oh, well, I mean, I don't know if I'd want to, I don't know. All this stuff is very silly in my opinion. I mean, it's fun to think about some of this stuff, but if the goal is really like to reach higher consciousness, if anyone look, I don't like debates. If people want to have discussions, I'm totally down for that. I usually like to find commonalities. Like if I were to sit down with Wes, I'd be like, okay, what are some things that we can agree with, and how can we perhaps create a conversation that is intellectually stimulating? I know that that's not drama, not what people like. Anyway.
So not only did Billy once again mess up his lawsuit by admitting this, but anyone who watched the debate could see that it clearly was not an ambush. It was one-on-one, with the moderator even siding with Billy at times. His third excuse for a bad debate performance was that Mark and Wes conspired to mess up the feed whenever he had something important to say.
And then what they did was, they're pretty slick. So every time I had something really important to say or a deep question to ask, defendant number 2 video would just magically disconnect. Boop, he's off again. Oh man, he's off again. I don't know what happened.
Okay. So again, to be fair, it did seem like towards the end, when Billy started talking, Wes was having connection difficulties and his camera was going out. and he'd come back on and be like, oh, sorry, I didn't hear that. Or I didn't hear that. So that did happen. I don't think it was planned. That seems like a very big stretch. It did. Okay, because here's the thing. Wes is a smart guy. He's a smart guy in that he knows a lot of things. He has a lot of data that he has collected, and he's well studied. So I don't think Wes would have to like pretend that his camera wasn't working or something. I think that's pretty silly. I don't go watch the reaction video. I don't think that was intentional.
First time it happened, I was like, that's strange, because it didn't happen when he was talking, and his video was very clear and crisp, like almost 4K.
But this doesn't really add up. The footage only shows Wes's internet freezing, and no one can even manipulate a live feed like that. This excuse only works for people who haven't watched the full unedited footage of the debate, which you can find on Wes's
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you could. I think you could manipulate that if you wanted to. I'm just this guy here said you couldn't do that. I think you could. I mean, it's not that you just turn your camera off or something, or just. But I don't think that he did. If you watch the whole thing, it does not seem intentional. I think that's a pretty big stretch.
Channel, and is also linked down below. His next excuse was that no one let him talk.
I might have bumbled the Barnabas text for the Sinai text or whatever. It doesn't really matter. What matters is I never got a chance to answer any questions or get my voice heard.
So Wes and the moderator did kind of dominate the conversation, but Billy could have spoken up at any time, and there were sections where he did talk for quite a bit, but Billy could have interjected. However, if he was sick, yeah, you're probably not going to feel like that. You're probably just like, okay, what did you say? Okay, but I could, if I was sick. If I was sick, I probably would have had like a very similar way of acting. Like, I mean, not exactly like Billy, but in terms of like being out of it. He did seem out of it. But I'll always go back to that's no excuse for the behavior after this. You don't go, kind of whine about all this and be like, hey, I lost and I wasn't feeling well and I didn't know it was a debate and all you guys are poor and I make so much money and I'm the best. And your camera wasn't working. You cheated. I mean, just do another one then. If you're really super confident in what you have to say and you are saying that you could have done better, then do it again. Or not, and just be like, you know what, that sucked. I'm not going to do that again. But don't make a weird, I don't know, weird. It's weird.
That's what really matters. But now I'm trying to ask my question. I'm getting overridden with other texts, other words from defendant number one. He's overriding what I'm trying to say, everything I've got to ask. He's talking over me. I'm the person that's supposed to be in this debate. I can't even get a word in.
Now, you know what Billy could have done with it? So this is a 3-hour video, okay? So I want to say I didn't watch the whole 3. I tried, and it was just ranty, like all my air conditioning, all my chefs, all of the random stuff. What he could have done is he could have said, look, I'm going to break down everything that Wes said and respond to how, like, well, I wasn't feeling that well that day. So here's my real response. Like, instead of whining about it, he could have tried to address the things that Wes said on this video. Like, instead of going, oh, I wasn't feeling good. Well, then tell us how you would have responded to it. Like, that would have been fine, I think. Don't do it in like a mean, aggressive way. But if you just explain, look, I wasn't feeling good. So when Wes said this is how I actually feel about that particular piece of information that Wes said. But he's not doing that at all. Maybe he did. I didn't watch the whole 3 hours, but I kind of doubt it. But anyway.
And as soon as I say one thing, the other guy, defendant number 2, he's overriding and talking over me. I'm just sitting there patiently, just quiet. So I saw Dan at that moment. I realized, oh, this is a contrived setup video to make me look like I'm some type of dummy and I don't know what I'm talking about. So they can go bragging to all their Christian buddies and friends in their cult and, oh, he didn't know the answer to these 2 questions. Not really.
Now, I will say they didn't treat him very well in the aftermath. But now that he did this, you can't really say much about it because this is a dick move.
But anyone who's seen the debate knows that this just isn't true. He had plenty of time to speak. Important times for him to make his case, he still only managed responses like these.
Referring to the Gospel of Barnabas as anything other than.
If you say it's an forgery and you're expert, I'm going to go with that. Let's talk about the Old Testament a little bit. That's fair enough. I can respect that. So let's go into the Old Testament a little bit.
And even in my last video of him, I have a clip of him talking for.
See, a couple things that I liked about before I saw all this response is that when Billy admitted to making mistakes a couple times, he'd be like, okay, I agree with that, or yeah, my bad, or whatever. Wes actually made a mistake a couple times, and he didn't say nothing about it. He made a mistake with regard to the contents of the Book of Enoch, and I believe slavery being in the New Testament, but he didn't address. He wasn't like, oh yeah, my bad, it actually is, or oh my bad, yeah, that is in the Book of Enoch. But this response that Billy has done has completely thrown all that out of the water. It didn't have to be this bad. Billy could have made this much better by having an appropriate response to it.
For almost 4 minutes straight, uninterrupted. And finally, Billy implied that AI or deepfake technology was used to manipulate the footage.
This is a video of me speaking in Korean. 안녕하세요, 여러분. 저는 빌리 카슨입니다. 포비든 노랫개로도 알려. Very easy to do, especially when you're editing.
But wait, what? Wait, hold on. Someone said T. Kemp says the moderator is his neighbor, went to his wedding, and the editor has been to his home for events. He talks about their history. They're all supposed to be friends. Well, yeah, I mean, that just makes it worse, doesn't it? The moderator didn't seem malicious to me at all. So wait, what's he talking about? Deepfakes? What does that have to do with anything? He's not, what does the deepfakes have to do with any of this?
That this just isn't true. He had plenty of time to
referring to the ultimate a little bit. 노랫개's a video of me speaking in Korean. 안녕하세요, 여러분. 저는 빌리 카슨입니다. 포비든 노랫개로도 알려. Very easy to do, especially when you're editing.
But that was a deepfake that Billy made. There's literally no evidence to suggest that anyone besides Billy created a deepfake of Billy. And even worse, Billy tried to obtain the footage the same night, long before he could have ever known about any supposed manipulation. So now that you've heard these excuses, you can...
Is he really? That's where I want to go and look at this in context. Is Billy really suggesting that was deepfaked in some way? Come on.
You can ask yourself, if Billy truly believed these excuses, you would think that he would take the chance to prove everyone wrong now that he's recovered, right?
Yes. See, that great point by this individual. I don't know their name, but great point. Yes, if everything as Billy was saying was true, he would take the time to actually have a rebuttal and to prove what he's saying by, instead of talking about how much he knows, talk about what he knows and the responses he would have had if he was feeling better.
Right? Well, unfortunately, after excusing his debate performance, he attempted to justify his claims with new evidence, and here's where things got even worse. Okay, so about an hour into the stream, he finally started to address the claims that he made in the debate for why he believed.
Okay, so maybe he does. Like I said, I haven't seen. Let's see. What do you say?
That Jesus wasn't crucified. And if you recall, the first piece of evidence was that the Sinai Bible didn't mention that Jesus was crucified. But when Wes literally pulled the text off of his shelf to show Billy otherwise, Billy backtracked, claiming that he'd misspoken and was referring to the Gospel of Barnabas.
Yeah, he said the Sinai Bible. He meant the Gospel of Barnabas. And the Gospel of Barnabas is basically like a Muslim-inspired text. It's not even that old. I think it's medieval, which doesn't, if you were to say, you know, like Lilith is a medieval text, but I'm not saying that Lilith was real and actually existed. You see the difference? Billy is saying, from what I understand, oh, Jesus was never actually crucified because of this book. Well, that's completely different then. If you're saying this is a historically accurate thing, then yeah, you're going to want to be like, well, there's problems with this text then. I'm not saying that Lilith was actually, you know, Adam and Eve and Lilith, they're all, it's all, you know, it's like arguing about hobbits and Jedi. these are stories that we can learn from, and they're very interesting and very cool and reflect very deep-seated archetypal patterns and can be very powerful when understood and integrated into the psyche. But it's a story. It's a symbol. It's a symbol. It's like if you have an app on your phone, and let's say it's a recipe app. This app shows you your recipes, and the symbol on the app is a carrot. Well, that's not a real carrot. If you try to eat that carrot, you're going to look like an idiot. It's a symbol. It's a representation for a structured system. So like Lilith isn't real in the sense of how she's described in the alphabet of Ben Sirach, just like the carrot isn't a real carrot. But they are powerful symbolic representations for real forces or real structures. The force of rebellion, the force of opposing oppression, the forces of liberation, the forces of the divine feminine, etc. So these are very powerful forces. But whether you're talking about stories in the Bible or you're talking about, we talk about tarot cards and how you can tap into archetypal forces by understanding tarot cards. Now, clearly, all the lovers cards on the tarot aren't actually two real people that really existed, but they represent an aspect of existence that we can learn from and integrate. Particularly with the lovers card, we can use to understand the integration of our internal opposites or masculine and feminine forces. If we want to talk in terms of gender, we don't have to. It's about integration. And that's what the Gospel of Thomas would talk about in terms of the ritual of the bridal chamber. And that's what also is represented by Jesus Christ kissing Mary. See, I talk about the Gospel of Philip where Jesus Christ kissed Mary, and I say that is a symbol for the unification of opposites together. I don't go, oh, Jesus actually kissed Mary. I don't know if he did. Probably not. Maybe he did. If he did, cool. That's great. But it's completely different perspectives here.
And that made it all the more strange to see during his live stream him try to justify his original claim about the Sinai Bible.
Well, that in the Sinai Bible, it appeared that Jesus had never been crucified. I said it's quite possible that Jesus was never crucified. Not once anywhere does say Jesus was never crucified. It says quite possible that Jesus was never crucified, or he might not have been crucified, depending on what podcast I was on.
So not once, not anywhere did he ever say that Jesus was never crucified, right? Well, out of Billy's own mouth,
never got crucified. Jesus was crucified. Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
And again, what makes it so strange is that if he really did misspeak during the debate by referring to the Sinai Bible,
I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
Then why was he trying to defend it during his live stream by putting up this image on his screen in defense of that initial claim?
Yeah, that's weird. Why is he? Because it wasn't the Sinai Bible, it's the Gospel of Barnabas. So even in his response, though, he's still talking about the Sinai Bible. The Codex Sinaiticus includes books like the Epistle of Barnabas. Okay, is the I don't look these here. Where's my internet here? I want to look something. Up here. All right, let's get this up here.
And by looking,
no, where is? All right, just a moment. I want to look something up. So the gospel, let's see, the Epistle of Barnabas. The Epistle of Barnabas is an early Christian Greek epistle written between AD 70 and AD 135 in the Codex Sinaiticus, but I don't think that's the same thing as the Gospel of Barnabas. Let me see. That's my suspicion. I don't think they're the same thing. Let me see. They're different things. The Gospel of Barnabas is, where was it written? Is dated to the 13th to the 15th century. See, this is the problem with Billy Carson. And look, this isn't something I've done a lot of research in. I'm looking this up right now. But look, Billy's talking about, first he talks about the Sinai Bible. or Codex Sinaiticus. And Wes goes, wait a minute, that has nothing to do with the Sinai Bible. Are you actually talking about the Gospel of Barnabas? Something like that, more or less. And he goes, oh yeah, no, or he said that later. I don't think Wes mentioned that. I think Billy said, no, I'm sorry, I was talking about the Gospel of Barnabas. And so, okay, it wasn't in the Sinai, the Codex Sinaiticus. It's in the Gospel of Barnabas. And then Wes goes, well, the Gospel of Barnabas is a forgery. Now, in his response, he's talking about the Sinai Bible again, Codex Sinaiticus, I think in terms of the Gospel of Barnabas, but here's where I think went wrong, because it says that in Codex Sinaiticus, there's the Epistle of Barnabas, but the Epistle of Barnabas is not the Gospel of Barnabas. So what I think Billy has done is confused the Epistle of Barnabas with the Gospel of Barnabas. And keep in mind, this is just, I'm literally researching this right now on the fly. But so look, I could have some errors here. I don't think so though. But this shows you how easy this kind of stuff is to fact check. Now, if I were going to make a video about this, right, and be like, oh no, I absolutely know this with certainty, or to a high degree of accuracy, I would do, probably a couple weeks of research at least. This is just me doing it in 30 seconds. But me doing it in 30 seconds, I know that Wes is an intellectually intelligent individual who has a lot of historical information. He's saying that the Gospel of Barnabas and Codex Sinaiticus are very different things. Billy is trying to equate them, but it's because anyway, this is the issue. Billy is either not doing the research he needs to do, or he's intentionally trying to mislead people, because this is easy to look up. Easy to look up. Anyway, it's almost unfortunate, because I want him to be legit. Not that because he has influence. It would be nice for someone who had influence to be wanting to really help people reach a higher state of consciousness, right? It's but this is just stuff like this. You can't do that, man.
Looking at this, I'm glad to see that he's done more homework, but the only problem is none of the points on this sheet change the fact that Codex Sinaiticus includes Jesus' crucifixion in nearly every New Testament book. Even his point about the shorter ending of Mark doesn't help, since Mark still includes the crucifixion. So none of this refutes or really even addresses a single fact that Wes gave. But even more wild was the evidence that he gave in support of his claim that Jesus had a wife. In order to argue for the legitimacy of this known forgery that allegedly claims that Jesus had a wife, Billy used this clip right here as evidence.
What really matters is the kind of scientific testing that's been done and that kind of work.
So this scrap is tiny.
It goes on to talk about how much scientific testing has been done. She really believes, and she's gone on dozens of interviews about this, that this thing was real. Now,
but this video that he's using is this one right here, and it was made back in 2014 before the fragment was universally acknowledged as a forgery. And even worse, the lady in the clip, Karen King, who popularized the fragment, she even admitted that it was likely a forgery 2 years after the clips that he showed, once she found out that the text was copied from the internet. She even said that the guy who gave her the fragment obviously lied. But to his credit, Billy does seem to acknowledge this fact to some degree, but then says that maybe she crumbled due to a Christian conspiracy, which he doesn't have the slightest bit of evidence for, nor does it explain why non-Christian scholars who studied it, like Mark Goodacre, came to the same conclusion while providing piles of evidence in support of that conclusion. And once again, the sheet that Billy put up on the screen literally does nothing to support his claim or refute anything that Wes stated during their debate. And yet, Billy even went so far as to say,
I always tell you guys in all the podcasts that I'm in, don't believe what I say, research what I say. Everyone's in.
Oh God, yes, please research what he says. Please don't believe what he says. Please research what he says. Please do. Please take his advice here. This is the best advice I've seen him give. Please do that, please.
How to gain or find their own opinion.
But the last time that happened, he claimed that he was ambushed and threatened to sue everyone. The Bible says that the one who states his case first seems right until the other comes and examines him. And as soon as anyone genuinely takes the time to examine Billy's claims about Christianity, then it all comes crashing down for him. And to make everything worse, he didn't have hardly any sources on any of the sheets for people to verify. And when one of his fans asked him to provide a source, he responded with insults.
You can tell this was written for me. No, I'm taking this from the source.
Someone says, I still love Billy, but Billy is not about the facts and something. But the problem is that he claims to be about the facts. It's not like he's saying, oh, these are just stories. He's saying these are factual events. Like I said, when I talk about the Gospel of Philip, where it talks about Jesus kissing Mary, which is an old ancient text. It's an ancient text. But I'm not saying that those things actually happened. Because there's so much allegory in the Gospel of Philip. There's so much allegory in the Bible. Guys, look at what's in the Bible. There's talking snakes, there's talking donkeys. It's like Shrek, for fuck's sake. These things didn't happen. They represent archetypes within the psyche. Might as well be watching a debate about Shrek and donkey and who was the true Messiah. Is Shrek the true Messiah? Like, it's just, stuff didn't happen, guys.
Mr. Whoever you are in the live chat, of course this is cut and pasted from the direct source, from actual academic books. I'm not giving you this off my dome. I'm reading academic books. Come on now, tune in, get your head on right. This is basic IQ stuff.
But conveniently, he didn't give the names of those academic books, so he still didn't provide any sources. And it's at this point that we can start to see Billy unravel more and more, which leads to his diatribes against God, the Bible, and Christianity. And it's here we start to see the real Billy Carson. So as the live stream went on, Billy began to show more and more hostility towards Christians. He started by calling the God of the Bible a sadistic narcissist.
Well, that's absolutely true. The God of the Bible is absolutely a sadistic narcissist. No question about it. You don't need any, historian to give you anything. You can read it and be like, holy shit, this guy destroyed all of humanity in a flood, unalived all the firstborn children in Egypt, accepted a burnt virgin sacrifice, allowed for SA of women in conquered cities. Horrible character. So Billy's 100% on the money about that. It's just all where he gets his facts that are very bad, not good.
He's a sadistic narcissist. Let's take a look at some of the traits and see if we can
Yeah, so going back to our Shrek analogy, right? Who's the bad guy in Shrek? The little short guy. Farquaad, right? You can look at Shrek and go, hey, Farquaad is a psychopathic asshole. I should do a whole video about Shrek in the Bible. That'd be a funny video. But you can look at Shrek and go, hey, Farquaad was a sadistic asshole. You don't have to have like verified evidence of Shrek and Donkey. Like, it doesn't matter. In the context of the story, you can look at the actions of Farquaad and be like, this is an asshole. You don't, because you're working within the, now that doesn't mean that Farquaad really exists or that any of that happened. But in the context of the story, and now if you had lots of, let's say now you have lots of Shrek religions, let's say. Let's start. And they praise and worship Farquaad as being, this is our savior. And they start doing crusades and killing everyone who doesn't believe in Farquaad. And you'd be like, hey, the guy that you believe in is a dick. And they'd be like, no. He's holy. He tells us he's holy. He says how great he is in the Shrek story. I don't know. The God of the Bible is clearly a psychopathic narcissist, and you don't need to have anything other than the context. You don't need anything other than the stories themselves to realize that.
Compare them to this quote unquote God of the Bible. If your God of the Bible is so powerful, why does he need to kill everybody and have all these wars? You're all knowing, all powerful, all omnipotent, yet you can't stop one brother from killing the other one. Till this very day.
Next, he turned his attention to biblical figures like Abraham, mocking his faith and his character.
Now, the fact that this...
Well, yeah, I mean, Abraham, God said, hey, go kill your kid. And Abraham was like, okay, that's not cool. Now, God stopped him at the end. But the moral of the moral of the story is do whatever God tells you, even if it means unaliving your own kid. God didn't give him a reason to. God didn't say, oh, do this. God wasn't like, oh, your kid's going to grow up to be, a killer and a tyrant. So you got to do this. Too bad. No, God was just like, just do it. Why? I told you to. That's a horrible story. And to base your religion around that story as being the epitome of the faith that one should have in God is gross. So yeah, Billy's right on that. How are you going to defend that? Like, you can't defend that. That's anyone with any degree of logic or common sense or critical thinking can see how horrible that is.
Man was willing to do this shows me how ignorant he was. You see, that's the difference between me and this guy. Now, they will preach to you all this stuff about him being this great holy man because he proved himself to God. No, he proved himself to be a doggone idiot, is what he.
I mean, I don't disagree with Billy on this. If you have a person, I don't care who they are, that's just going to unalive their kid for no reason, just because a deity tells them to. That's horrible. That's horrifying. I don't care, what religion it is or what that's horrifying. So anyway, I agree with Billy on that.
Proved himself to be.
And finally, Billy attacked Christians themselves, accusing them of being easily manipulated.
You've been heavily manipulated to the point where you don't even know who the hell you are. It's really scary that there's that many NPCs walking around on this planet. Drones. You people are drones, man. No empathy. I gave you the definition of that earlier. Sadistic narcissism, lack of empathy, controlling, quick to anger, jealous, envious. I am a jealous God. Didn't he say that? Some of you will, some of you won't. Some of you will still be stuck in believing the current ideology and dogma that you've been fed. How come I can see that and understand that, but you guys can't? And you're.
This is a very complicated issue, because when Billy criticizes the Bible and God, he's absolutely right and on the money. His other beliefs, lack of research, and the clearly factually false data that he represents as being true, though, is a very big problem. And it doesn't make what he is right about seem credible, because then you can easily, that's not how it works logically. Logically, he can be right about one thing and wrong about the other. Absolutely. But in terms of like rhetoric, people can be like, look, Billy was wrong about all this, so he must be wrong about everything. That's not how logic works, but that's how people think in terms of rhetoric. So it's a very unfortunate situation. And so when you look at people who are in belief systems that are damaging, in my opinion, belief systems that are damaging, I don't look at them as enemies, because look, this is all us. This is all us. So it's more about people who need to be, who are unfortunately ensnared in a system that is a system of brainwashing. And so it's like a prisoner that needs to be released. And because this is all us, so those who haven't attained a certain level of understanding, whether you want to call that higher consciousness or Christ consciousness or whatever term you want to use for it, our goal is to help others and uplift the world. And I don't, based on how Billy handles himself here, I would be highly suspect that those are his real intentions, because I don't see someone like that bragging about, making fun of poor people and bragging how much money he has. And It's a very odd situation, I have to say. It's very odd.
You're wrapped up in the actual religion itself.
And ironically, he also said this about the church.
The church itself obfuscates or suppresses information or changes things or forces things to not be released.
But
That is true. It could take a very long time. Yes, that is true. The church did decide eventually, long process, of what was to be included in the Bible and what was to be excluded from the Bible. They had various reasons for these things. And that would take, that starts to get into like the historical aspect of it. Like, when were certain texts written? They might be like, oh, well, we're not going to include the Gospel of Judas because it was written later. But when it comes to other Gospels, like the Gospel of Thomas was written very early and it was excluded. Then you have something like the Book of Enoch, which was excluded, and the Book of Enoch was actually considered a reliable text by early church fathers and is actually quoted in the Bible, but that was excluded. So I will say it is true that the church decided what would be canonically considered Christianity. I think sometimes it's exaggerated as to some of the reasons as to why some books were excluded. But when you look at the picture as a whole, you see that it was constructed in a certain way to promote a very specific interpretation of Christianity. Like St. Marcion, who compiled the world's first Christian canon, St. Marcion, you could say the world's first Christian Bible, the Christian canon, he excluded all the Old Testament because he was like, the Old Testament, God is an evil being, and Jesus was opposed to that being. Well, the church and the bishops that were backed by the Roman Empire was like, nah, you know what? We're going to leave all that in there and create this narrative of Jesus Christ being the son of that particular God. It's complex. But this is why getting into the minutia of the historical aspect, to me, is a waste of time. If it's like a hobby someone has or just something that someone's interested in, that's fine. But it's kind of like if you look at the Old Testament, when you have this being that's unaliving all these people, genocide, murder, essay, I don't care how old a document is, it just means you're an old asshole. It's a matter of logic, not a matter of what historical artifact you have or not.
But this is ironic because this is exactly what he is trying to do with these slap lawsuits. So if it's wrong for the church to suppress information and not have it released, then why is he giving everything that he has to doing exactly that? He also goes on to talk about how God condones slavery, sexual slavery, and genocide, all of which I've
absolutely
covered in detail in a playlist link below. But
absolutely, multiple times, a lot. And the thing is that usually the response to that by Christians is, oh, well, you have to think about the time when it was written. Things were bad back then. And so for that time, it made sense. The problem with this is that if you are trying to say that God is perfect and inerrant and that the Bible is literally inspired by God, then it should include something like, hey guys, we're going to do this now, but just so you know, in the future, this is not okay. I'm not saying that that's okay. I still think that's gross, but I'm saying that if one were to take the replies or excuses or explanations that's commonly given by Christians, it doesn't hold up if you are saying that God is a perfect inerrant being and that the Bible is the perfect inspired word of God. If you're going to say, hey, you know what, this Bible, this book, it was written by people and there's a lot of screwed up stuff in there and there's a lot of inaccurate stuff in there. Some stuff is okay, but it was written by people. And so it's just, that then fine. That's fine then, but that's not what is promoted within Christianity.
Billy doesn't just stop there. He spent at least a third of his stream glorifying himself, talking like the main character in an action film.
You're trying to put together a global network for one man? That's how scared you are of me? You guys are horrified of Billy Carson. aren't you? You're horrified. We got to end this guy. He's too big. You can't take down a self-made man. They have to network with hundreds of thousands of people all over the world to supposedly end Billy Carson's career. Not only are they not ending my career, they're making me more famous because they call my name out every 5 minutes. I'm on their tongue and their lips every minute of the day. When they go to sleep, they dream about me. When they wake up, the first thing they do before they kiss their wife or their boyfriend, they talk about me. They post me and call my name 24 hours a day, nonstop. They're absolutely infatuated with me. And nobody puts out more volume of videos and content than I do. Not nobody in the world. Not one single person.
Not one single person in the world puts out more content than he does. So look, I don't know much about Billy. Maybe, I'm sure he puts out a lot of content. That's a pretty big claim though. It's a pretty big claim. It's a pretty big claim. That was, hey, Sinfully, how are you? Thanks for the super chat. It says, staying lucid and rational is essential. Many people who believe they have moved away from Christianity yet still get stuck in anti-Christian or opposing Christian mythos ideology is still diluted. Oh, yeah, you're right. That's where like sometimes, yeah, sometimes people get trapped in another ideology as a response to Christianity. Absolutely right. And it's good to see you.
Oh, I got all the information. You think you have a big organization. What you don't know is you don't have as big an organization as you think. You got a lot of followers, which are just sheep, but I have people everywhere on the planet. I touch a percentage of the planet every day. Me, one man, I touch a percentage of the planet. You guys haven't even come close to that. The RCMP, the VPD, the CAFC. Fortunately, I have fans in those places. You just never know when you're poking a real bear. So I want to thank these gangbangers for creating all this controversy and all this energy and stirring it up and then sending it to.
Yeah, see, this does this seem like the response of an enlightened or someone who has good intentions? There's nothing wrong with defending yourself. If someone's attacking you, nothing wrong with defending yourself. There's nothing even wrong with posting, a powerful, strong video. That's fine. But the way this is done after you perform just like really bad in a debate and you don't have anything, if you don't have anything to back it up, it looks really bad. It's really bad
to me because I'm taking it. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
And he consistently bragged about his connections to powerful people, threatening lawsuits and implying an untouchable status.
You think you're...
Susan says it's weak. Yeah, it displays weakness. Absolutely. This is very strange how Billy chooses to handle things. Very odd.
Your cult is so huge and so massive. I've got people in every area of politics. And yes, I still call them polytricksers, but I've got people in politics. I've got people in three-letter agencies. They come on tour with me. I've got people in government. I've got people in countries, powerful people that support. I've got billionaires. I've got billionaires' numbers on my cell phone. Billionaires that I can just call right now and have casual conversations with.
All right, that's red. There's just a whole bouquet of red flags. That's why be so obsessed with billionaires? Why brag about this obsession with money? Look what's being projected. Money, power, obsession with clout, status, money, power. And once again, nothing wrong with status, nothing wrong with money, nothing wrong with power, if it's directed in the appropriate way. If you have status because of your accomplishments and you have a nice life and you are able to influence things with your power in a positive way, that's all fine. But that's directing it as a means to an end, rather this obsession as though those things were an end, as those things were what should be attained, right? Like that's the difference. Not like, oh, look at me. I have so much money, so much status, so much wealth, so much power, it shouldn't be emphasized as that those are the things to be obtained. Those are the goals. Those things aren't wrong in and of themselves, but if you're obsessed with them and you're so like in Gnostic terms, very archonic influences, right? Archons are so obsessed with power and status and hierarchy and rank. So a lot of archonic energy there. And remember, see, when I'm saying that, I don't mean that they're literally archons floating around in the sky. I mean that those are the forces that can rise up and take control of a person.
I hang out with them. We've got voice recordings of conversations that you guys have been putting out there. See, you don't know who's on the other end of that phone that supports us. You think they're supporting you. You never know when you're going to poke a bear. But the original video that I did not consent to, I'll be paid my pound of flesh for every appearance that it shows up on the entire internet. I will be. Trust me on this. Or there'll be judgments. And when you go to buy a house, or when you go to sell something, when you go to do anything, I'll have to get paid first. And I'm going to take all of that money, all those winnings, and I'm going to buy a huge strip of land. Me and my wife already figured it out today. We're going to buy a huge strip of land.
This is crazy. There's something wrong here. That's nuts. Why would he think that this sounds good? That's bad.
And we're going to build mini homes on there for homeless people with all the money.
All right, now, while his bravado might seem entertaining, it comes across as incredibly insecure and nothing more than a desperate attempt to recover from a poor debate performance. But I will say this, in fairness to Billy, getting tons of hate online isn't easy for anyone to deal with. Very few people are equipped to handle that level of criticism, and it's clear that he feels betrayed.
No, I will say it is hard to be like in the public eye. I don't have nearly as many followers as he does. What does he have? Like 1.5 million or something, and I have 500,000. I don't have as much. But my point is that for those who aren't able to handle a lot of hatred and negative energy, yeah, it can be really hard. It can be very difficult. So I'm sure he's got a lot of difficult things to deal with, a lot of hatred, a lot of negative energy. I'm sure. But he's not handling it very well. He's not handling it very well. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Especially by friends who once shared his same views, but recently converted to Christianity. Now, this context doesn't excuse his behavior, but it might help to explain it. So Billy seems to be going through a lot right now, and let's pray for Billy that this moment would lead him closer to the truth rather than running further away from it. If he does, I'm confident that the facts will show him that Jesus really is who he said he is. Not a person who embodied Christ consciousness, but instead the creator of the universe in human flesh who came down from heaven to solve a problem that no one else could solve.
You can just note that that's logically false by examining the premises of the Bible. I don't care how old your frickin' book is. I don't care if an angel comes down from the sky and tells me. It could be a demon. Who knows? It could be an alien. That's why logic and reason is the ultimate litmus test. It's the ultimate bullshit detector when you understand how to truly use logic and reason. And the Bible is very easily refuted. And so we can understand that the Bible is factually false, but we can use it as an allegory to understand our true nature. We can use it as stories to understand our true nature. So let's take a look. This is just short. We're going to take a look at this is just a minute. This is Wes, who he's very condescending. But anyway, this is him talking about Billy. He's claiming that Billy is suing him. So let's take a look at this.
Carson is attempting to sue me. For those of you who don't, Billy Carson is attempting to sue me. For those of you who don't know, I was invited to interact with Billy on a podcast that he agreed to come on. It was not his podcast, where he was notified beforehand who I was and what we'd be talking about. After that debate took place, Billy attempted to suppress the footage. That didn't really work. I've released clips from that conversation. Well, Billy does not want you to see those clips and has sent me a cease and desist letter. I was really hoping that this could be an opportunity for Billy to learn, to see the major errors that he's been repeating and turn this into a learning experience. I even offered to follow up with Billy in order to show him how and where he could find accurate and credible resources in order to make sure that what he was saying was verifiably correct going forward in the future, so he and his audience could learn and proceed knowledgeably. Billy did not agree. But unfortunately for Billy, agreeing to a debate, losing that debate, and feeling embarrassed about that loss does not constitute legitimate grounds to litigate. Billy, I will agree to all the terms and conditions of the cease and desist letter that you have sent me if you agree to run it back, sit down with me in person, and have another discussion. This is my formal response.
So Wes is right. He's just very condescending. I just don't like his attitude. And he comes to what most of what Wes says is factually true. Watching the debate, 90% of what Wes said was factually true. He just made a couple mistakes here and there about the Book of Enoch. So I would say even more like 98% of what Wes says was factually true. But that's different than presenting something that accurately reflects reality. You know, that's like 2,000 years ago, or let's say 2,000 years from now, someone finding a Shrek DVD, and they're experts on all the Shrek DVDs. They've studied all the Shrek memorabilia from 2,000 years ago. They're Shrek experts. Doesn't mean Shrek was real. So this guy is very smart and is an expert in his field, but doesn't mean that any of that happened, because we can exercise logic and reason to know that the premises that the God of the Bible are based on are incompatible and therefore false. And then, so we got to make a Shrek video. So then Billy released an apology. Now, I don't know whose channel this is. I just couldn't find this anywhere else. He apparently made, well, I guess I could have just looked on Instagram. I think this is an anyway, I think this is an Instagram post. So Billy made an apology. He did it's a short Instagram post. So here's the thing. Billy released an apology. I'm going to read it for the first time with you guys. I haven't read this yet, but I know it's a short Instagram post. You'd think if you released a 3.5 hour rant response video and you're going to make an apology, you could at least do an apology video. Not just like a small. Anyway, let's see what it says. It's just already sus to me that it's just a Instagram post. Maybe he did release an apology video. If so, I haven't heard about it. I don't know whose channel this is, by the way. This is What Your Pastor Didn't Tell You. I don't know anything about this person. They just have the clip here. So it says, I want to start by offering a sincere and heartfelt apology to the Forbidden Knowledge community. Recently, there has been some personal and community-wide attacks on myself, my family, and the Forbidden Knowledge community. These attacks caused me a great deal of hurt, frustration, and anger, and I want to acknowledge how these feelings may have influenced my actions. In my last response video, some of the things I said and the way I expressed them were not aligned with the true vision and purpose of Forbidden Knowledge. Forbidden Knowledge stands for inspiration, love, and empowerment, not anger, division, or disconnection. Is there more to this? Let me see. I want to officially apologize to our Forbidden Knowledge family for any words or tones that may have been out of alignment with our shared values. Thank you for your understanding, your support, and for holding me accountable to the high standards we all strive within this community. Together, we will continue to grow and elevate, staying true to our mission and inspiration and empowerment. I think that might be, is that it? Oh, wait, no. These attacks, no, he's just going back to reread part of it. So that's it. I don't know how I feel about it. I guess is it better than nothing? I guess it's better than nothing. It doesn't seem sincere to me at all. If you're going to make a 3.5 hour video and then just release, 4 Instagram slides, handful of paragraphs, it's very vague. It doesn't address anything specific. It doesn't say, oh, sorry about calling you calling people poor or nothing specific. Very vague, very general. I don't know at all what happened, but it seems to me like probably someone in his life was like, hey, Billy, you should really say something about this. And he probably didn't want to. And was like, and what? Fine. I don't know if that's true. I have no idea. I'm just speculating. But that would be my guess, because it does not seem genuine to me at all. At least do a video. Maybe he will. I don't think he will. But if he would, be like, hey, be on the lookout for a video coming out. I don't know. So anyway, the whole situation has been extremely weird. Like I said, I want to reiterate, I'm not on Team Carson. I'm not on Team Wes. I think that they are both problematic in very different ways. Very different ways. And I think it's extremely unfortunate that Carson is displaying this behavior that is quite honestly very archonic, in my opinion. It fits that very well. I sincerely hope that Billy will, because he has a large platform and he has some ideas that are good with regard to the oppressive nature of the God of the Bible, things like that. Not everything. There's some very wild things that he says that are very wrong. But he has some good. So I hope that he learns. Wow. Really, really nuts. So I would say this, please be careful with Billy Carson stuff. If you're a Billy Carson fan, fine. That's great. But please, pretty please research what he has to say, because quite a lot of it is not accurate, and you can easily find that it's not accurate. Just be careful, okay? Be careful. And logic and reason, all right? Stay rational. If you haven't seen the whole debate, check out my last video if you want to know the whole. I did a reaction to the entire 2-hour debate. If you want to see it, check it out. It's interesting to watch. And I want to remind you all that we're having a members only video right after this on a cosmologist who is discussing the soul and the afterlife, Paul Davies. It's going to be really interesting. So become a member for that. Become a member to get my lecture notes on alchemy PDF, how to understand the symbolism of alchemy to transform the self and transform the soul. Remember, it's all about symbolism. Just like we can learn from stories, we can learn from the alchemical process. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, was incredibly influenced by alchemy. They were not just the precursor to the chemistry, they were precursors to psychology. Highly interesting stuff. Anyway, that's all for members. Check out my latest book, Neogenesis: Dawn of the New Mind. If you want to know how to think rationally, this will help you out. Because there's a lot of bullshit to look out for. So thank you all so much for joining me. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who supports, especially Renaissance Fairy, Cassidy, Angela, DB, Nusalina, Dallas, Digital Tech, David, LaDonna, Grace, Kira, Valthor, and everyone else. Thank you very much.